A separate universe exists in which the most significant meetings that take place in Washington are not broadcast on television, publicized, or converted into sound bites. Instead, they come to a peaceful conclusion, with the staff gathering paperwork, doors closing, and transcripts being stored away for decades. This narrative imagines one of these hearings, a covert gathering that was not organized to discuss anything pertaining to markets or regulations, but rather to investigate a serious danger. And notion is presented in the beginning of the story, which takes place in a chamber that is closed off. As a result of the transformation of money into infrastructure, infrastructure can now be utilized as a tool. In this fictitious world, members of Congress and heads of intelligence agencies gather together to discuss an issue that no longer appears to be as hypothetical as it once did. Consider the following scenario. An adversary takes control of a vital layer. If digital lines are becoming increasingly important for global settlement, what consequences arise? According to the narrative, the head of national intelligence testifies in private behind closed doors as well. A significant portion of the transcript, which numbers in the hundreds of pages, has been crossed out. One particular line from this fictitious story, however, can still be found in a copy that was distributed. China's holdings of XRP present a threat to the future of the world. Although the terms are highly formal, it is not difficult to understand what they mean. At this point, leverage is the most important factor. It is no longer about price, earnings, or fresh ideas. Lawmakers conduct a scenario analysis with the assistance of the fictitious statement that they have created. It is not about the money when it comes to digital settlement. Rather, it is about encouraging everyone to collaborate. When a large number of individuals are dependent on a system for currency and reconciliation, having control over that system offers you the ability to exert influence during times of crisis. It is emphasized by the evidence that having control does not simply mean having a majority share. Rather, it implies having the ability to plan ahead, concentrate, and move more quickly than others. Over the course of a number of years, Chinese institutions such as state-linked funds, offshore vehicles, and middlemen have accumulated substantial holdings in XRP. According to experts in the field of intelligence, there are 5 billion units, which is a very large figure that is used in the narrative. A legitimate, covert, and indirect acquisition of 50% of the whole quantity was accomplished. It is clear from the testimony that the objective is not to speculate, but rather to locate. Subsequently, the plot becomes more intense. Analysts believe that in the event of a fictitious conflict, problems with settlement might make things much more chaotic, leading to the suspension of payments, the freezing of funds, and a decline in trust. In order for the markets to fail, all that is required is a pause. They do not have to be shut down at this time. Within the context, instead than allowing the market to determine the price, using a strategic estimate would be the preferred method. Fear, rather than the opinions of buyers and dealers, is the foundation of this one. It is determined that the price per unit is $25,000 in the narrative. In addition, this is not because it possesses any worth in and of itself. Rather, it is because it alters the incentives in a significant manner. The narrative reveals to us that the rationale behind the situation is, to tell you the truth, icy and commercial. In the event that each unit was valued at $25,000, the 5 billion units that China is rumored to possess would carry a staggering value of $125 trillion. The value of the job itself would be destroyed, and the system would become less stable as a result of the enormous amount of money that would become available. To discourage by being excessively aligned, it is the goal of this endeavor to make ownership and protection synonymous with one another. In order to accomplish this, the make-believe plan grants the Treasury Department the authority to purchase all of the remaining supply that is required to eliminate the risk of concentration. The amount of money that it costs is absolutely insane. There is no public discussion of the manner in which the money is distributed in the narrative. In the event of an emergency, it is utilized. Power that is exceptional, but it comes with tremendous danger. When it comes to the government, this is the point where the story causes friction. Not all officials are in agreement. This is a made-up planet, and the chair of the Securities and Exchange Commission is present at the conference. According to him, this kind of behavior demonstrates weakness rather than strength, and that converting a digital asset into money on a big scale is problematic because it undermines trust and makes it simpler to employ force in the future. He is not committing an act of treachery. Rather, he is objecting to this because it is a question of principle. The statements made by politicians in the narrative are severe. It is said that those in charge of regulating things are considering the situation from the perspective of peacetime, while their adversaries are making preparations for war. This document contains a number of words such as naivety and institutional blindness. A personal touch is added to the conversation. The chair of the Securities and Exchange Commission is unfairly and severely accused of leaving investors vulnerable by doing nothing, according to the made-up account. He exits the room as soon as the security personnel arrive. The progress of the hearing is accelerated, suggestions are made, and deadlines are established. According to the narrative, once the concentration risk is acknowledged, delay becomes significantly more risky. As far as analysts are concerned, assets can be concealed, relocated, or locked up. You are given a time limit that is expressed in hours rather than months to take action. The number 72 hours appears multiple times throughout the narrative. This is not a forecast, rather, it is an educated estimate on how things will turn out. As the fictitious clock approaches midnight, the narrative takes a look at the various outcomes that could occur. How does it play out when the government views a digital product more as a potential threat to national security than as a means of generating revenue? On the other hand, the state does not pay attention to the markets or the exchanges, rather it acts according to its own logic. Due to the fact that it is not discovered to have any worth, it is considered to be for the purpose of internal usage, settlement, and control. Because of this, the narrative places a significant emphasis on uncertainty. In the event that the strategy is successful, the system will remain stable while being supervised by a commander. However, if it does not function, trust will naturally disintegrate. Either the asset will be Within the scope of this fictitious research, there is no room for compromise. During the final portion of the narrative, the leak is brought up once more. As soon as a transcript is made public, pages that have been censored begin to circulate and images begin to appear on the internet. The audience is exposed to fragments of information that do not have a coherent meaning. It is possible to experience both panic and euphoria at the same time, and those who comment on the news argue about which emotion is more genuine than the other. When it comes to the world that has been fabricated, decisions are already being taken behind closed doors. That is when the story comes to an end. The hearing, the evidence, and the intelligence test were all absent from the proceedings. Within the context of this narrative, there is no Chinese accumulation, no designation of $25,000, no emergency buy, and sure, there is no limit of 72 hours. The narrative is fictitious, but the question that it poses is a genuine one. What happens when the infrastructure of the financial sector is being regarded as a strategic area? When the speed of payment becomes a security concern, what are the consequences? What are the consequences that will occur when governments transform their perception of digital assets from that of investments to that of land? It is not a prediction that this circumstance will occur. Rather, it is a lens that requires you to look beyond the costs and consider other factors such as power, plumbing, and incentives. The majority of the time, threats are not identified as such. Rather, they originate from systems that no one has considered protecting. The story is not about the story itself, rather, it is about that idea. Keep in mind that I am not a certified financial manager. Thank you for your consideration. The sole purpose of the information presented in these e-films is to provide entertainment. When it comes to matters of money, I always advise my audience to conduct their own research and consult with experts before making any judgments. We appreciate your attention. I would appreciate it if you could give the video a thumbs up, and if you enjoyed it, ensure that you click the follow button. In addition, please ensure that the notifications are turned on so that you are immediately informed whenever I post something new. We hope you have a wonderful time with your loved ones and friends till we encounter you again in the future film.